This introduces a problem that I'll discuss later on. Not just the fact that divs are not very optimized for reading by screen readers or regular humans for that matter. And there's a lot more elements besides main this applies to as well. But we'll get into that later. In the previous step, you nested the h2 element, comment, and a paragraph element within the main element. A nested element is a child of its parent element. It should be indented 2 more spaces than its parent element to improve readability, like so. Add 2 spaces in front of the 3 child elements of main so your HTML is more readable. And that's a little trick that you'll find in most, if not all, code editors. If you highlight the text that you want to move over, then hit tab, it's a lot easier than just having to go in front of each thing individually. They write this very weird. Like, when it comes to indenting that, it sounds the way they were writing it like they wanted it to be 2 spaces over from where it starts out at, not 1, which is what they actually wanted. God. This must be new because I've never seen something that hard to understand in basic HTML. Whatever. Anyways, step 7 now. You can add images to your website by using the image element. Image elements have an opening tag without a closing tag. Tag for an element without a closing tag is known as a self-closing tag, and an image element below the paragraph element. At this point, no image will show up in the browser. There we go. Image tag. Of course, it's worthless and won't do anything, but we'll fix that in the next part, I imagine. HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag of an element to control the element's behavior. The source attribute in an image element specifies the image's URL, in other words, where it's located. An example of an image element using a source attribute would be that. Inside the existing image element, add a source attribute with the URL cdn.freecodecamp blah 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 cat photo app relaxingcat.jpg. And in general, you will find that most code editors will automatically insert the source attribute with a pair of empty quotations for you to put your source inside when you finish the image tag. They tend to automate the little stuff like that that's just tedious, busy work. Is something you're going to find. Step 9. All image elements should also have an alt attribute. The alt attribute's text is used for screen readers to improve accessibility and is displayed if the image fails to load. For example, image source cat.jpg alt a cat as an alt attribute with the text a cat. Inside the image element, add an alt attribute with the text a cute orange cat lying on its back. We will do so. So, this one is honestly pretty straightforward. The alt text is, from the perspective of a user, something you only see if there's a problem and the image doesn't load. Like, if you ever gone on a website looking for an image and it just shows up one of those funny looking rectangular thingamadoodads with some text under it, that's because the alt is there as a fallback if you don't get the image. It's supposed to describe what should be there had there not been a problem. And generally, unless the person browsing is using a screen reader, you won't see that text unless there's an issue. But it should be there because otherwise there's some content that is just invisible to someone because of a mysterious issue they don't know is happening. And if that text loads, the user will know there's a problem. Hence the reason for the alt attribute existing. Step 10. You can link to another page with the anchor element. For example, a href equals FreeCodeCamp.org with link to FreeCodeCamp.org. Add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to FreeCatPhotoApp.com. At this point, the link won't show up in the preview. Okay, and href, if you're wondering what that means, is basically hyperlink reference. As the name suggests, and as you've probably figured out at this point, it's the address of the URL. As for why it's not going to do anything and why it won't show up, and yes, I wanted to show there what happens if you try and not close as a tag on FreeCodeCamp that it expects you to close. And it will just not let you. I've never tried that sort of thing in an actual code editor. I would imagine the result would just be errors. Plenty of errors. Step 11. Link's text must be placed between the opening and closing tags of an anchor element. Example, FreeCodeCamp.org as the href, and close, click here to go to FreeCodeCamp.org. The closing tag is a link with the text. Now we want to add the anchor text of cat photos to the anchor element, and this will be the link's text. Which, this is why in the previous step it said that the link wouldn't do anything, because a link that you get through the anchor tag, you need text, because as otherwise these tags will not know what they're supposed to link to and will not create any link. This will just be hovering there in the middle of the page doing nothing. Step 12. Turn the words cat photos located inside and the paragraph element into a link using the same value for the href attribute as the link below the paragraph element. The paragraph element should show the same text in the browser, but the words cat photo should now be a link. Sure to remove the A element with the text cat photos on the line below the paragraph element. Well, that's just how I habitually do things, I'm afraid. Not gonna work out here, but my general habit with stuff like this is to, rather than make the paragraph contain a link, just put a link in place of the paragraph.